Hello, I'm Sham Sundar, hosting Trailblazing in the Pathways segment. In this segment, we are interviewing those Toastmasters who have accomplished their paths successfully. We will learn more about their journey. Today, we have our guest is DTM Deepti Potnis. She has accomplished the path strategic relationships. Let us know more about this path from our guest Deepti Potnis. Hello and welcome Deepti Potnis.
Thank you. Thank you, Sham.
Today, we are going to talk about your successful pathways of strategic relationships. So, without wasting much of time, let's go ahead and start.
Yeah, please shoot.
Okay, why did you choose this strategic relationship as your pathways?
Great. So, the strategic relationship path is very good for people who are working in PR section, basically. Those whose work demands some PR activities, or those who are aspiring to be a VP PR of some club. So, this path is very useful for such people. And I remember when I was VP PR of ICC Advanced Club, that was the time I chose this particular path. And I was intrigued by the projects in this path. It is a very interesting path. And luckily, I took up VP PR and I was completely novice in that field. And this path helped me a lot.
Okay, was there any thought process you were going on in your head? I mean, for choosing this particular path?
When I saw particularly, the level two projects, it was very fascinating for me because if you see all the other level parts, level two projects, there is this leadership, know your leadership style, know your communication style, or some other and Toastmasters mentoring, which is a compulsory project
Okay,
throughout the all the paths. But this particular path had a very different, and only this path has this project in level two, which is understanding cross cultural understanding. So that was
oh,
something very fascinating for me, and that's why I chose this particular path.
okay, that's great. That's pretty good. So, what all the projects are there in this path basically?
If you see, all paths have common level one. Now,
Okay,
initially, when Pathways started, level one had three projects. First was Icebreaker, second was evaluation and feedback, and third was research and presentation. But
okay,
Pathways, again, after launching the Pathways over the period in 3 years, they have improvised it. And they have changed few projects. They removed this research and presentation project from level one and they put it as an elective project in level three. And instead of that, they brought two more projects in level one because first we give the icebreaker, which has no rules as such. It is just, an encouragement for a new member to just, stand up and speak.
true,
So the second level onwards, you write speech with a purpose, that opening, body, conclusion, and then it is a 5 to 7 minute speech. That is where your real journey of Toastmasters speaking starts.
yeah,
And after that, they have included, now you know how to write the speech, but unless you know the vocal variety and body language, that speech is not complete.
true.
So they have introduced this vocal variety and body language in level one itself, so that by the time you finish your level one, you are an accomplished speaker. Like you can start your speaking journey flawlessly. So they have introduced this project in level one,
So
and that
basically,
is
they
the
want
only
us to, yeah, basically they want us to finish it off quite faster
not
than,
faster. They want to make, they want to empower people more, I would say, because in earlier project, yes, the levels were there, but after icebreaker immediately you switch to evaluation and feedback. That was a huge jump, and there was nothing in between. So to bridge that gap, these two projects, write a speech with purpose, and the second project is know vocal variety and body language. These are very useful projects for any new person to learn the skills of writing a speech and presenting a speech.
that's wonderful, Deepti. Uh, In your strategic relationship path, there is a very important part which plays an important role, which is nothing but leadership style. Now, which kind of leadership style did you follow to actually mentor the TMs, the Toastmasters?
You won't believe my journey started when I started taking this, when I started my pathways. This
Uh,
project came across Know Your Leadership Style, and I was completely lost because I never saw myself as a leader before. And I was like, what is this leadership style, and who am I going to lead? So my leadership project started from confusion of first, am I a leader, from that perspective. But then I was so confused. But TMI website is so uh, what resourceful, that when you go through that project there is an assessment. So suppose for a person like me who was not knowing anything about leadership, was confused, there was this assessment, and I took that assessment. After taking that assessment, I came to know that I have this affiliative leadership style. And then second one was my secondary was altruistic. So I started learning more about it. What is this altruistic style, what is this affiliative style, and then in general what are the leadership styles. And from there my journey began, and now after completing 2 3 parts, now I that confusion is not there anymore.
well, basically, this path has helped you to explore your hidden talent. That's what I can say.
Very true.
Good, good. Well, having said that, do you feel that is that the most significant project of the entire journey of this path, or anything else?
No, the this is where your journey begins. There is
Okay,
a lot to explore in any path, because there are some competencies that you hone when you take a particular path, and they have designed those competencies, and that is there written in the Toastmasters pathways manual, which competencies you can hone from which particular path. So your competency journey actually starts from level 3 onwards,
okay,
because your level 1 is common across all the paths. Your level 2 has little different projects from one another, but they are very either you will have communication style, or you will have leadership style, or you will have both. And Toastmasters mentoring is compulsory in all the level 2 projects. And apart from that, in strategic relationship, we have this cross cultural understanding and leadership. There is no communication style project. Similarly, it will be different. For persuasive influence, it may be leadership style, active listening, and Toastmasters mentoring.
hmm,
So that is how the level 2 project is somewhere, you start understanding what is pathways and where are you heading to. And
okay,
from there, when our journey begins, level 3 onwards, the first project comes, that is making connections through networking.
yeah,
And that is the real project which leads you to PR activities. First you understand the cross cultural understanding, because you understand how people are different and how to communicate with different people. From there your journey begins. But at level 3, you talk about this particular project, making connections through networking. For that you need to involve into some certain events. And you, from level 3 onwards, there is no project where you have to just talk about. You have to do something and then give your speech based on your experience. And that is where the real journey begins.
well,
So
no
my
wonder.
level 3 project was this particular making connections through networking. And I remember I was called as an MC for a judges training workshop.
Okay,
And during that, I made so many connections, and that is where people started knowing me as Dipti, Toastmaster Dipti. So I took that as my project.
well, that's no wonder that within a short span of time, Club Toasted has aced in their memberships. And sure, you must have taken off a lot of cues from this strategic relationship.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. Well, Deepti, the final question for me, to you, is having learned all these specialties or specialization in strategic relationship, how do you steer the volunteers? Being, and when I say they are volunteers, they are not compulsorily they have to come and do all the projects. But how do you guide them, or how do you motivate them?
Again, it all you this all you learn from pathways. When I said from level 3, I started making connections, but how to leverage those connections?
True.
Any PR person should know how to communicate with social media, how to communicate with news channels. So all this training you get in your level 4 project,
Okay.
and that is very significant project, and that is called public relations strategies. So there you understand, and as I said, no, after level 3 you have to do something, and then you try something and explain your hands on experience. So this particular project had this level 4 project which helped me a lot, public relations strategies, where I was a VPPR of ICC Advance. Otherwise, if somebody is not in any VPPR position, that person has to work with VPPR, or to take some permissions for doing some PR work for the club. So I did this particular project. I when I took up VPPR of ICC Advance, they had Facebook page. So I built on that, and I created LinkedIn page, their Instagram page, and their YouTube channel. And wrote many articles for. There was one Ignite Possibility segment also, which was there in ICC Advance, and which used to get published in the newspaper. So I have done so many newspaper articles I have written. So all that experience gathered together, and it helped me a lot in understanding public relations strategies. And when coming back to your question, there is this compulsory project in level 5, that is leading in your volunteer organization.
Okay.
So that is the ultimate. When you learn how to make connections, then you know how to communicate with those channels and connections to get maximum out of it. And then you know how to lead in a volunteer organization, because leading in any other organization is completely different, because the driving factor could be monetary,
Absolutely right.
and people sometimes comply to your decisions just because of your position or some interests involved.
True.
But when you lead in a voluntary organization, you cannot pressurize anybody. The leadership is actually in reverse style, because and Toastmasters leadership style, if you see, the pyramid is upside down. So members come first, and then everything else.
Everything else.
And that is where you learn how to lead people. And when you see what is in it for them, and make them understand what is in it for you, then people do those things joyfully, I would say. If people don't know what is it, and what are they going to gain out of it, why would they waste their time? Everybody has their jobs, everybody has their personal life. They are just doing this to hone their skills, but how honing these skills will help them for their personal life, future life, that is something a leader has to take care particularly in Toastmasters, where it is a volunteer leadership.
Awesome, Deepti. That shows not only learning but implementing what you have learned
Exactly.
is the main criteria for any success of any club. Thank you very much for your time coming up, standing up for us, and sharing your experience in strategic relationship path. Thanks a lot for your time, and have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Sham. And I want to conclude with my one remark that Toastmasters is it's like a stage. You learn the skills, and they give you the free stage to perform. Even if you fail, there are people to support you. And then you practice there and apply those in the outside world.
Perfect. Thank you. That's, I think, a lot of people will take away a lot of things in this pathway discussions. Thanks once again, Dipti.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sham. Pleasure.